Whether I'm right or whether I'm wrong, whether I find a place in this world or never belong, I gotta be me, I gotta be me. What else can I be but what I am? I want to live, not merely survive. And I won't give up this dream of life that keeps me alive. I gotta be me, I gotta be me. The dream that I see makes me what I am. That faraway prize, a world of success, is waiting for me if I heed the call. I won't settle down, won't settle for less, as long as there's a chance that I can have it all. I'll go it alone, that's how it must be. I can't be right for somebody else if I'm not right for me. I gotta be free, I've gotta be free, daring to try to do it or die. I've gotta be me. I'll go it alone, that's how it must be. I can't be right for somebody else if I'm not right for me.
Kids are always good, believe me. Exploiting children is one of my blasphemy and exploiting children, my two favorite things. Thanks. I'd like to welcome everybody here to the first and only Sammy auction. You guys can hold on to these. For the Fund for Community Progress, as we're hoping to make some money here, although looking at the turnout of our friends, basically deadbeats, we realized that might not be the case. So, Jeff, we might be taking the big pipe on this one, yeah. Anyway, we'd like to thank everybody who's helped us out here, especially Charles Rocket in California, who's not here with us, but one of the key people involved in procuring Sammy's Nehru jackets and suits, and the rest of the clothes was Charles Rocket. And of course, special thanks to Ric Murray Studios here in Marica, and John Myers for the slide presentation, and Tayo, Benita, let's see who else, Charlie. Well, you said Charlie. Huh. We don't need to thank anyone else then, apparently. The profits, if there are any, and we're keeping our fingers crossed on that one, are going to the Fund for Community Progress. There is a brochure in the front and explains some of the member agencies. It's kind of like the United Fund, the United Way, United Fund, except left-wing radical troublemakers. That's why we're involved with these folks. Yeah, right, exactly. Just before we begin, I want to make when we were talking about the Nehru jackets, and people were saying to us, "Schwarz this," I tried to make this, well, there's a couple of things. First of all, it's Sammy. I mean, for those people that doesn't grab right there, well, we can't really explain, if you know what I mean. However, for those people out there who are still wondering why the hell they're here, let me see if I can make this kind of plain. The Nehru suit is basically, I guess you could call it the Edsel of clothing, right? Extremely popular among a half dozen morons for about less than a year, right? Now, if you think about it, the Edsel today, if somebody had a mint-condition Edsel, this would be worth big money. As everybody knows, it's a great collector's piece. Now, having Sammy's Nehru suits is comparable to having not just a mint-condition Edsel, but a mint-condition Edsel owned by the Ford family. Because let's face it, Sammy, when it came, as you can see, there's a citation taped up on the wall over near where the beverages are, and it mentions that Sammy basically was the main man responsible for the Nehru jacket craze. They know it, we know it, and we feel that you should know it. In honor of Sammy, by the way, I would appreciate it if everybody would refer to each other as Babe throughout the evening. All right, I think we're ready for our first model. This is got the Sammy name. Is this the suede one? Not suede, but Sammy Davis Jr. label inside by Serto. Inside is a Sammy label. Of course, the lovely Mary modeling it for us. Has a paisley inside. 15, anyone? 15. Do we have 15? 15?
Jeff said, if Sammy Davis was a tree, what kind of a tree would he be?
A bonsai.
Probably a scrub pine. Yeah, he was kind of small and wiry, and he always had those big cuffs that came out of his jacket. He was always kind of spiky and gnarly, and it would be the kind of tree that would be up on a hill, weathering storms, and living on just very little, obviously.
Me as a dogwood, laden with flowers in the spring, lovely red berries this time of year, and just sort of frail and prone to disease, and with a bit of a mottled kind of a finish to the bark. I think of Sammy as a dogwood tree.
Very small, about 25 inches around, dead tree.
Sammy was an oak. He was small in stature, but he was a mighty oak as far as trees go, okay?
He was too small, you know. Small, you know.
Yeah, I know.
Smaller than you. Smaller than me. You know, he was small, you know. Is this running?
I thought you were joking.
$20 for this beautiful Nehru. Who bids 20? Do we have our own clothing by the time we leave here, Jeff? Folks, the big build-up, the liquor, you understand the idea behind this. We're going down the tubes, and you people out here saying, no, we don't really. I know it's not the most beautiful Nehru in the world, but it's Sammy's, it's a Nehru. We have, we have the, oh yes, we have the stupid coats. Here we go. The lot of 3 jackets featuring the famous Sammy stupid coat, as worn by Tayo. There you go. Show your friends, discuss your neighbors. Look at this. And that's real something. Yeah. That's real fake something in there. We're going to start just for humiliation purposes. 15. That's lunch, folks. $15. Look at this. You'll make someone lose their lunch with this. An authentic United States naval outfit. That goes with it. She's wearing the belt. It's got a label inside that says Sammy Davis Jr. Don't tell me those are dreams of the strain, lovely strains of the Sammy style. Yes, the disco suit. Ah, yes.
Did you have a personal interest in Sammy Davis?
Yeah, I love Sammy Davis. I saw him in Las Vegas with Jerry Lewis.
You did?
Yeah, the most sincere entertainer I've ever seen in my life. He totally changed my mind about what I, totally different from what I expected. He was amazing. And I saw him as the Grand Marshal of the Hollywood Christmas Parade only months before he died, too.
What was that like?
In Hollywood. What? Oh, when? 1989.
Was he on a float?
Yeah, he was. I think he was right behind Tiffany, who was in a King Kong float, and then he was in a car, and he was like all bundled up, and he couldn't really see him. You could just see a little head sticking out of his scarf, little homunculus sitting on the back of the. He looked really bad, but it was really sad.
Can you tell me what the show was like in Vegas? What was that?
Yeah, well, it was Sammy and Jerry, and it was like the Vegas Tao, standing together. They looked like yin and yang, and they were like Sammy's beautiful, life-affirming yin next to Jerry's horrible, universe-devouring yang, and Jerry Lewis was like the most hostile performer. You could tell he hated you, and but Sammy was like, he would get up there and do these songs that you would think would be the corniest things in the world, but at the end I was like, Mr. Bojangles, really, wiping away tears. The Candyman. I was deeply moved by the Candyman. I can't even explain it. It doesn't even come across trying to explain it, but he was really, you could tell that he loved being up there, and he was also the tiniest guy I've ever seen. He looked like he was still, how they say on like TV, it's like everything's smaller than life. He was still that size. Well, you can see. Look, I have living proof. He was about this tall.
So you think Sammy was somewhat charismatic?
He's very charismatic. He was the, he was one of the people who made Las Vegas, made the Vegas legend, and if there was maybe 5 or 6 people who did that, and you have to have a lot of charisma to make a long-lasting legend like Las Vegas, the Las Vegas that people think of when they hear the words Las Vegas. Entertainer, it doesn't apply to anybody anymore after Sammy's dead.
Well, what do you think of his quote where he says, as long as I can remember, Las Vegas has been my spiritual home?
Well, Las Vegas was my physical home for a year and a half, and it's a better place to have a spiritual abode. Yeah.
I just never understood that statement.
Well, I guess it's, when you reach that point and sort of achieve that kind of knowledge that Sammy obviously had, some kind of a deeper understanding of, well, I don't even know. I don't know if I can even attain to that kind of a knowledge, but it's something to aspire to, and then maybe one could understand that completely.
So how does it feel to own this stuff?
It's heavy. Really heavy, man. I don't know what I'm gonna. I'm sort of overwhelmed. I can't you know, this would be, if I found this in a clothing store, just, you know, alone I'd be thrilled, but that it was owned and worn by Sammy Davis Jr. is, like, I'm rendered inarticulate by the whole event.
Here we go, here they are. Whoop. Okay. Someone found one of Sammy's hairs. It's on one of the collars before they put the shirt on. It appears to be a chest hair. Considering the way things are going, do I have a bid on this chest hair? We'll take $5 for Sammy's chest hair. $5, okay, looks like John Rector's going for 5. 10 anybody for Sammy's chest hair? 10 before I drop it. 10 back there, 15 anyone? Have we got a plastic bag we can put this in? Okay, it's $10. Jeff Thomas, a man who knows something that, he's always known something that none of us know. Anyway. These are real casual. As a matter of fact, this first one is so casual we think that Sammy was sleeping when he purchased it. And he must have been had his eye out for repair when he bought those pants with that big mistake on Sammy's part. Of course, who are we to talk, Jeff?
What's black has one eye and is married to a redhead. Or who's black? It was something like it. It's all back in the with the 60s. Wasn't that where it came out? So a lot of things centered around the one eye, the glass eye.
Did he really lose his eye in an accident?
Well, I suspect the answer is no. Just given the lifestyle, the fast track in Vegas, it may well have been an accident, but probably not the way Sammy would have described it. Little cocktail umbrellas, something like that.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, John.
That was great.
Oh, that's all right, that's all right. One of the double knit, one of the rare double knit suits, pants and suit. And of course, double-breasted. Yes, double-breasted. Lovely buttons, I might add. That's right. Where is Bruce Sunland? Pick up your purchases when you're done. We have a few more to go. Huh? When we're done. No, not when you're done. No, you might be done now. You may be done. We're done already. Jeff, I can just look. I'm not even counting it like you are, and I know we're done. We're cooked. Stick a fork in us. We're finished. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's have a hand for our models. Come on out. We'd like to thank all the young ladies. What's the name of you? Some of the young ladies are from Warwick Dance and Gymnastics. We move around. They get the tap dance at the beginning. Terrific. Ariel and back to the streets with you. Thank you very much for Debbie Davis and Benita and Tayo especially, who've been back here running things. Thanks, guys. Marika, Ric Murray, John Myers, Joyce Whittle up front, Teresa Level, Jeff. I'm really sorry. Thank you.
Just the start of the blues. Then from a jail, there came a wail from a downhearted frail, and they played that as a part of the blues. Now from a whippoorwill sitting high on a hill, they took a new note, they pushed it through a horn till it was worn into a blue note. You gotta believe me, they nursed it, and they rehearsed it, and then they gave out the news. That's Buddy Rich. Hear my voice where you are. Take a train, steal a car, hop a freight, grab a star, come back to me.
That's the one I like.
From the shore, ride the wind to my door, turn the highway to dust, break the law if you must, move the world only just, come back to me.
It's a gyroscope. Video away.
All right, where did you go?
How did it go?
Well, it went well. I'm a happy guy. We could have made a little more money, but that wasn't why we get into this. We didn't do this as a money thing. We did it as a love thing, as Sammy would have said. And I just wish there were more people that have shared in this. So it's not the money, you see, that's got me really upset now. It's the fact that we didn't have hundreds or thousands of people, only 30 or 40 people.
I had figured it out.
But I'm not bitter. I'm a happy guy. I have 2 neighbors waiting for me at home. And that's all that matters. Thank you. Thank you, Rick. You did a great job.
Even. I don't know if the fund made out too well. If they didn't, I'm sorry. I really tried. But a lot of people got a lot of good deals, and I've got a few neighbors for the home. I'm going to have children now just to wear these suits for a year and then get rid of the children in the suits.
That's Buddy Rich. Hear my voice where you are. Take a train, steal a car, hop a freight, grab a star, come back to me.
That's the one I like.
From the shore, ride the wind to my door, turn the highway to dust, break the law if you must, move the world only just, come back to me.
It's a gyroscope. Video away.
You looked at me, so now you're going to be in the video. There they are. Start with
All right, where will we go?
How did it go?
Well, it went well. I'm a happy guy. We could have made a little more money, but that wasn't why we got into this. We didn't do this as a money thing. We did it as a love thing, as Sammy would have said. And I just wish there were more people that have shared in this. So it's not the money, you see, that's got me really upset. Now it's the fact that we didn't have hundreds or thousands of people, only 30 or 40 people.
I had figured it out.
But I'm not bitter. I'm a happy guy. I have two neighbors waiting for me at home. And that's all that matters. Thank you. Thank you, Rick. You did a great job.
Even. I don't know if the fund made out too well. If they didn't, I'm sorry. I really tried. But a lot of people got a lot of good deals, and I've got a few neighbors for the home. So I'm going to have children now just to wear these suits for a year and then get rid of the children in the suits.